No one in that room expected the door to explode open. Not like that. Not with that kind of force. The kind that didn't just interrupt a night, but rewrote it. The bass from the speakers was still vibrating through the velvet walls. Glasses still half raised in careless laughter. Bodies leaning too close to lose, too unaware. And then the door slammed head against the wall with the diaphanous crack. Everything stopped. Not gradually, instantly, because everyone in that room knew exactly who had just walked in. Pei Chen-yu. He didn't shout. He didn't ask. He didn't even look angry in the way normal people understood anger. He simply stood there, tall, composed, dressed in a perfectly tailored black suit that looked like it belonged in boardrooms worth billions, not in a private club thick with perfume, liquor, and reckless youth. But his eyes were wrong, cold, sharp, and focused on exactly one person, Lin Wang. Lin Wang was sprawled across the leather couch like he owned the world, or like he didn't care who did. His collar was slightly open, the top buttons undone, a faint flush on his neck from alcohol, or heat, or something far more deliberate. One arm lazily draped behind his head, while someone beside him leaned in too close, laughing at something he probably haven't said. He looked untouchable, like trouble, like temptation, like something that had never once been told no and meant to obey. And for a brief suspended second, their eyes met. Someone near the door let out a nervous laugh. Pei, President Pei, didn't know you were. Get out. It wasn't loud. It didn't need to be. The room emptied in seconds. No one argued. No one dared. Even Cheng, who had been sitting closest to Lin Wang, froze for half a heartbeat before slowly standing. Hands raised slightly in mock surrender, though his smirk didn't quite disappear. Told you, he muttered under his breath as he passed Lin Wang. He'd lose it one day. Then he was gone. And just like that, the entire room belonged to only two people. Silence, heavy, dangerous. Pei Chen-yu stepped forward. One step. Two. Measured, controlled, until he stood right in front of the couch. Lin Wang didn't move, didn't sit up, didn't fix his shirt, didn't look away. If anything, the corner of his lips curled slightly. Came pretty fast, he said lightly, voice still laced with that careless amusement. I thought you had a meeting. Pei Chen-yu looked down at him. For a long moment he said nothing. Then he reached out and grabbed him. It wasn't gentle, not even close. His hand closed around Lin Wang's wrist, fingers locking with a force that made it impossible to pretend this was anything casual, anything soft, anything forgiving. And in one smooth motion, he yanked him off the couch. Lin Wang stumbled forward, balance lost for just a second, and then he was pulled straight into Pei Chen-yu's chest. Hard. Close, too close. 6 years. Pei Chen-yu's voice was low, so low it barely rose above a whisper, but it cut deeper than any shout. I spent 6 years raising you. Lin Wang's breath hitched just slightly, barely noticeable, but it was there. And this Pei Chen-yu continued, his grip tightening, fingers pressing into bone like azalent thread. Is what you do with it. Lin Wang let out a small breath of laughter, soft, provoking. Relax, he said. It's just a party. Pei Chen-yu's eyes darkened. Is that what you call it? Silence again. But this time it wasn't empty. It was building. Lin Wang tilted his head slightly, studying him like he always did, like he was unstanding in the middle of a storm he had just created. Why are you so angry? He asked, voice softer now, almost curious. I didn't do anything. Pei Chen-yu didn't answer. Not immediately. Instead, his gaze dropped to the open collar, to the marks left by careless proximity, to the faint traces of hands that were not his. And something in his expression shifted, not louder, not more obvious, but sharper, colder, more dangerous. Then, without warning, he lifted his hand and pressed his fingers under Lin Wang's shin, forcing him to look up. Did he ever tell you? Pei Chen-yu said quietly. Why I kept you by my side? Lin Wang blinked once. That wasn't the direction he expected. No, he said slowly. You just did. Pei Chen-yu's thumb brushed against his jaw. Not gentle, not soft, measured, controlled, like everything else about him. I told myself, he said, I'd wait. Lin Wang's smile faltered. Just a little. Wait for what? Pei Chen-yu leaned closer. Close enough that his voice didn't any volume anymore. Close enough that every word felt like it was placed directly into Lin Wang's bones. For you to grow up. Something in the air shifted. Completely. Lin Wang swallowed for the first time that night. He didn't have a response ready. I gave you time, Pei Chen-yu continued, his voice steady, calm in a way that made it worse, not better. Eager via space, Ili to think echoes. His grip tightened again, but I was wrong. Lin Wang's heartbeat started to pick up. Fast, unsteady, unfamiliar. He showed vein the gray and tran. Pei, Chen Yu said. And then, he lowered his voice even further. So low it almost disappeared. You don't belong anywhere else. Silence. Absolute. Lin Wang let out a breath. A shaky one this time. Is that what this is? He said, forcing a smile back onto his face. Possessiveness? Jealousy? Pei Chen Yu didn't deny it, didn't correct him, didn't soften. Yes, the answer hit harder than anything else that night, because it wasn't offensive, it wasn't hidden, it wasn't ashamed, it was certain. Lin Wang stared at him, really stared, as if trying to understand something that had always been there but had never been said out loud like this. Then what? He asked, voice quieter now. What are you going to do about it? That was the moment. The exact moment. Everything crossed the line that could never be uncrossed. Pei Chen Yu didn't hesitate, didn't pause, didn't reconsider. If anyone touches you again, he said calmly, I'll erase them. Lin Wang's breath caught. And if you keep putting yourself in places like this. Pei Chen Yu leaned even closer, their foreheads almost touching. I'll stop asking. Silence. But this time, it wasn't tension, there was impact. Lin Wang's chest rose and fell. Slowly, unevenly, and then to his own surprise, he laughed, soft at first, then sharper, almost reckless. You sound insane, he said. Pei Chen Yu didn't move. Maybe I am. And for the first time in 6 years, Lin Wang realized something he had never truly understood before. This wasn't just control. This wasn't just protection. This wasn't just care. This was obsession. And it had just stopped pretending otherwise. Pei Chen Yu released him, suddenly, abruptly, as if the moment had ended, as if nothing had happened. Get your things, he said. Going home. Lin Wang stood there for a second, still processing, still off balance. Then he smirked again, because that was what he did. That was who he was. Even now, even like this. What if I don't want to? Pei Chen Yu didn't turn around, didn't even look back. You don't get to decide that tonight. And for some reason that simple sentence felt heavier than everything else combined. Lin Wang followed him anyway, because despite everything, despite the anger, the defiance, the confusion, the dangerous pull tightening around him, he still walked after him. And somewhere deep inside, where he refused to look too closely, he already knew. That door at that moment, that sentence, had just locked something in place, something neither of them would ever be able to walk away from again. The ride back was silent, not the comfortable kind, not the familiar kind Lin Wang had grown used to. Over the years where silence meant presence, meant safety, meant he didn't thave to fill the space, because someone else already held it steady for him. No. This silence pressed, it tightened. It followed them into the car, settled between them like something alive, something watching. Lin Wang leaned back in his seat, one arm resting lazily against the window, eyes half lidded as the city lights streaked past, outside in blurred lines of gold and white. He didn't look at Pei Chen Yu, didn't speak, didn't provoke. For once. Pei Chen Yu, however, noticed everything. The distance, the stillness, the way Lin Wang wasn't pushing back. And that unsettled him more than any argument could have. You're quiet. His voice cut through the silence, low, measured. Lin Wang let out a soft breath. Was I supposed to be loud? A pause. Pei Chen Yu turned his head slightly. Usually you don't know how not to be. That earned him a faint smile. Not warm, not playful, just there. Maybe I'm learning. The answer should have satisfied him. It didn't. Single quotes, something about it felt wrong. Too smooth. Too easy. Like a shift that hadn't been agreed on. From who? Pei Chen Yu asked. That was enough. That was all it took. Lin Wang turned his head now, slowly, meeting his gaze. And for a second, something sharp flickered in his eyes. Does it matter? The car slowed as it approached the private estate. Tall gates opened silently. Security lights flickered on. Everything was exactly as it had always been. Controlled. Ordered. Untouchable. Except it didn't feel the same anymore. By the time the car stopped, neither of them spoke again. Pei Chen Yu stepped out first. Didn't wait. Didn't offer. Lin Wang followed. Because of course he did. Because no matter how far he leaned away, he had never actually walked in another direction. Inside the house was quiet, too quiet. Pei Chen Yu loose-ended his tie as he walked in. Movements precise, controlled, as if he could fold the entire night away into something manageable if he just kept everything in order. From tomorrow, he said, Not turning around, you're not going out. Lin Wang froze, just for a second. Then he laughed. You're joking. Pei Chen-yu stopped, turned, double quotes, no. The word landed flat, absolute. Lin Wang's smile faded. Slowly, you don't get to decide that. Pei Chen-yu stepped closer. Not fast, not aggressive, but inevitable. I do. Something snapped. Lin Wang took a step forward. Not back. Never back. You think you can just lock me up because you're in a bad mood, he said, voice rising for the first time. That night, would have Ito you a pet. The project? Pei Chen-yu didn't flinch, didn't react. Not outwardly. Yes. The answer came too quickly, too calmly. To honestly, Lin Wang stared at him, stunned. Not because of the words, but because there was no hesitation behind them. I raised you, Pei Chen-yu continued, as if explaining something obvious. Everything you have, everything you are, came from me. Then take it back, Lin Wang snapped. Silence. For a fraction of a second, something dangerous moved in Pei Chen-yu says. Don't say things you don't understand. Then explain it to me, Lin Wang shot back, stepping closer, refusing to yield even as the air turned colder, with every inch between them closing. Explain, women lie. You are living your life. No, Lin Wang said sharply. I'm living the version you allow. That hit. Pei Chen-yu's jaw tightened. Barely. But it was enough. You think I'm controlling you? He asked quietly. Lin Wang let out a short, bitter laugh. You think Kudina wee and Reen. Another pause. Longer, this time heavier. Then Pei Chen-yu exhaled, slowly. You're not going to the track anymore. There it was. Lin Wang's eyes sharpened instantly. No. You crashed last time. It was minor. You could have died. I didn't. Pei Chen-yu stepped closer again. This time, there was no space left between them. I'm not repeating myself. Lin Wang held his gaze. Didn't blink, didn't move. Then don't. The tension snapped tight, like a wire pulled too far. For a second, it felt like something irreversible was about to happen. And then, Pei Chen-yu reached out and grabbed him again. Not violently, not roughly, but firmly enough that resistance became meaningless. You're not going, he said. Lin Wang jerked his arm slightly. Testing, not breaking free, just enough to show he wasn't submitting. You can't stop me. Pei Chen-yu leaned in, close enough that his voice didn't heed to rise. Try me, double quotes. Silence, and just like that, the fight wasn't over. It had only just begun. 3 days later, Lin Wang went anyway. Of course he did. The track row red with engines and adrenaline. The smell of burnt rubber thick in the air as cars tore across the asphalt in violent streaks of speed and sound. This was freedom. For a moment, he forgot everything else. Until his phone buzzed. One message. From Pei Chen-yu. Where are you? No, question mark. Lin Wang stared at it, then smiled, and didn't reply. He drove harder, faster, pushing the limits just a little further. Because somewhere deep inside, he knew exactly what he was doing, and exactly who he was provoking. That night, the headline hit before he even got home. Young heir seen speeding at private, track after previous injury. Photos, videos, angles he hadn't even noticed. Lin Wang scrolled through them. Casually as he stepped into the house, the lights were on. All of them. He stopped, just for a second, then kept walking. Pei Chen-yu was in the living room, waiting. No suit this time, no loosened tie, no signs of exhaustion, just stillness. You didn't reply. Lin Wang tossed his phone onto the table. Didn't feel like it. A pause. Then, did you enjoy it? The question was the calm. Lin Wang smirked. Yeah. Silence. Then, Pei Chen-yu stepped forward. Good. Lin Wang blinked. That wasn't the reaction he expected, and that was his first mistake. Because the next moment, Pei Chen-yu grabbed him, pushed him back, and pinned him against the wall. Hard. The breath left Lin Wang's chest in a sharp exhale. What the? You wanted to test me? Pei Chen-yu said quietly. His voice was steady, controlled, which made it worse. Congratulations. His hand slid up, gripping Lin Wang's jaw again, forcing him to look up. You got your answer. Lin Wang's pulse spiked, fast, violent, unpredictable. Let go. No, the word was immediate, absolute. From now on, Pei Chen-yu continued. You tell me where you are, who you with, what you redoing. Lin Wang let out a sharp laugh. Even now, even like this. Or what? Pei Chenyu leaned closer. Or I start removing options. That was different. Not anger, not jealousy. Control. Total. Lin Wang's smile finally faltered. You wouldn't. Pei Chenyu held his gaze. Didn't blink. Try me. Silence. And for the first time, Lin Wang felt it. Not just the tension. Not just the control. But the shift. This wasn't a game anymore. And the person in front of him wasn't pretending to hold back. For a while, everything became quiet again. Not because the storm had passed, but because both of them had learned how to stand inside it without speaking. After that night against the wall, after the rules had been spoken, not negotiated, something shifted between them. Not broken, not softened, just altered. Lin Wang stopped arguing, at least on the surface. He went where he was told, came home when he was expected, answered messages, picked up calls, smiled when spoken to, even leaned closer more often than before, like he was playing along with something. He had finally decided to understand, and Pei Chenyu noticed that of course he did. He noticed the compliance, the quiet, the way Lin Wang no longer pushed against every boundary, no longer tested every limit like before. And for the first time in days, something in him eased, just slightly. You've been good, he said one evening, almost casually, as he set aside a stack of documents. Lin Wang curled lazily across the sofa with his head resting against the armrest, glanced at him. Is that a compliment? It's an observation. Lin Wang smiled faintly. Then I'll take it. There was a pause, a softer one this time. Then Pei Chenyu said, pack your things. Lin Wang blinked. Why? We're leaving tomorrow. For what? Pei Chenyu met his gaze. A trip. Lin Wang stared at him for a moment. Suspicion flickered then faded. Trying to make it up to me? He asked lightly. Pei Chenyu didn't answer, which somehow felt like a yes. The island, the sea stretched endless lie under, the pale gold of late afternoon, waves folding into themselves with quiet rhythm, as the private boat cut through the water toward a secluded coastline, untouched dead by noise, untouched by crowds, untouched by anything that didn't belong. Lin Wang stood at the edge of the deck, wind pulling at his shirt, hair slightly messy, eyes narrowed against the sunlight. For the first time in a long while, he felt something close to peace. Behind him, Pei Chenyu watched. He didn't call out, didn't interrupt, just stood there observing the way Lin Wang leaned forward slightly, like he wanted to step beyond the edge of everything that held him. Careful. The word came low, instinctive. Lin Wang didn't turn. Relax, he said. I'm not jumping. Pei Chenyu walked up behind him anyway. Close, not touching, but close enough that the space between them didn't feel like distance anymore. Stay where I can see you. Lin Wang let out a soft laugh. You brought me to an island and you still watching me like I'm mewing to disappear. Pei Chenyu didn't deny it. You might. That wasn't a joke. Lin Wang finally turned. Studied him. From you? He asked. Pei Chenyu held his gaze. Yes. Silence. And for a second, something unspoken passed between them. Not conflict, not control. Something deeper. Something neither of them fully named. That night, the restaurant was built into the cliffside, half carved from stone, half suspended over the ocean, lit with low amber lights that flickered softly against the darkening horizon. Lin Wang leaned back in his chair, watching the waves crash below. This place is ridiculous, he said. You like it? I do. A pause. Then quieter. Thank you. Pei Chenyu didn't respond immediately, but his gaze softened. Just a fraction. Eat, he said. Lin Wang rolled his eyes slightly, but obeyed. It was easy like this. Too easy. Too close to something they had never quite allowed themselves to have. You're not working? Lin Wang asked after a while, glancing at him. No. No calls. No. No emergencies? Pei Chenyu's lips curved faintly. Nothing more important than this. Lin Wang blinked. Just once. That felt unfamiliar. Dangerously so. You're lying, he said, but without heat. Maybe. Then why come? Pei Chenyu looked at him. Really looked. Because I said I would stay with you. The words landed softly, but they didn't fade. Lin Wang looked away, out toward the ocean. You don't have to do that, he said quietly. I do. Why? Silence. Long enough that Lin Wang almost thought he wouldn't answer then. Pei Chenyu said, because if I don't. He stopped. Lin Wang turned back. If you don't, what? Pei Chenyu held his gaze. I might lose you. Everything stilled. The ocean, the air. The space between them. Lin Wang's throat tightened. Unexpected. Unwanted. You already have me, he said. Pei Chen-yu shook his head. No. And then, very quietly, not in the way I want. That was the moment. Not loud, not dramatic, not explosive, but irreversible. Later that night, the wind had picked up. Lin Wang stood alone on the balcony, arms folded loosely, staring out at the dark sea, as waves crashed harder now, the calm of earlier replaced by something rougher, something unsettled. He didn't hear the door open, but he felt it. Can't sleep. Pei Chen-yu's voice came from behind him. Lin Wang didn't turn. Just thinking. About what? A pause, then about you. That was honest. For once, Pei Chen-yu stepped closer. Good or bad? Lin Wang let out a small breath. I haven't decided yet. Pei Chen-yu stood beside him now, close enough that their shoulders almost touched. You don't have to. Lin Wang glanced at him. You don't care? I do. Then why not ask? Pei Chen-yu looked out at the ocean. Because you'll tell me eventually. Lin Wang smiled faintly. You're very confident. Yes. Another pause. Then, Lin Wang said softly, if I run one day. Pei Chen-yu didn't let him finish. I'll find you. No hesitation, no doubt. Lin Wang exhaled slowly. And then, Pei Chen-yu turned his head, looked at him. Then I'll make sure you never try again. The words should have felt like a threat. They didn't. Not entirely. The next morning, the sky was too clear, too bright to calm. Lin Wang woke up late, the bed beside him empty. He frowned slightly. Chen-yu, no answer. He got up, walked out. The suite was quiet. Too quiet. On the tableau note, emergency meeting, back soon. Lin Wang stared at it. Something felt off. Not wrong, not yet, just off. He reached for his phone. No messages, no missed calls, nothing. And for some reason his chest tightened. 3 hours later, the call came from Ju Cheng-yu. Lin Wang answered on the second ring. Where is he? Silence. Then, we lost contact. Everything stopped. What do you mean lost contact? The plain Gu Changgu's voice was steady, but tight, controlled in the way only people trained to handle disasters sounded. He deviated from its route. Lin Wang's grip tightened around the phone. And signal disappeared over open water. The world tilted. No, it may have entered a storm system.
No.
Possibly due to external interference. No. Lin Wang's voice broke. Don't say it like that. Double quotes. Silence. Heavy. Final. We are investigating. The line went dead. Lin Wang stood there, still, not moving, not breathing, because that didn't make sense. Pei Chen-yu didn't lose control. Pei Chen-yu didn't make mistakes. Pei Chen-yu didn't disappear. The phone slipped from his hand and hit the floor. The first thing Lin Wang did was not cry. He didn't collapse, didn't scream, didn't shriek down the way everyone expected someone in his position would. Instead, he bent down, picked up his phone, and made a call. Seal the information. His voice was steady, to steady. No media leaks, no internal panic, no movement in stock visibility. A pause. Then, from this moment on, all decisions go through me. On the other end of the line, silence. Not disbelief, not hesitation, recognition, because something had already changed. 12 hours later, the boardroom was full. Every seat occupied, every face tense. They had expected chaos, uncertainty, weakness. What they got was Lin Wang. He walked in alone, no hesitation, no escort, no visible emotion. And for the first time, no one saw him as the spoiled boy who had been raised under Pei Chen-yu's shadow, because the way he looked at them was the same way Pei Chen-yu used to. Let's begin. No greeting, no explanation. A director spoke first, Mr. Lin, with President Pei's situation unclear. We believe you believe wrong. The interruption was immediate, clean. Final. Lin Wang didn't raise his voice, didn't need to. Until I say otherwise, nothing changes. Another director leaned forward. This is not something you can control. Lin Wang smiled. That was the moment the room went cold. Control? He repeated softly. Then, he leaned forward slightly. I don't control situations. A pause. I remove problems. Silence. Absolute. Day 3. They brought in the first man at midnight. He didn't last an hour. Lin Wang didn't touch him. Didn't need to. He simply sat across the table. Watched. Listened. And when the man broke, really broke, spilling names, routes, payments, Lin Wang only asked one question. Who ordered it? The answer came trembling. Shen Tingglang. The name settled into the room like a verdict. Lin Wang nodded once. Good. Then he stood, turned and walked out behind him. The man kept talking, begging, crying. Lin Wang didn't look back. Clean it. That was all he said. Day 5. Shen Tinglen wasn't hiding. People like him never did. They built empires in plain sight, believed themselves untouchable. That was his mistake. When Lin Wang walked into the top floor office, he wasn't announced. He wasn't stopped, because no one dared. Shen Tinglen looked up from his desk, surprised, but not afraid. I was wondering when you'd come. Lin Wang closed the door behind him. Slowly, you took something that belongs to me. Shen Tinglen smiled faintly. Belongs to you. A pause. Or belongs to the world. Lin Wang stepped closer. No, his voice dropped. Just mine. Silence. Then Shen Tinglen leaned back. You're too late. That was the wrong thing to say. Because for the first time, Lin Wang's expression changed. Not anger, not grief. Something colder. Am I? The descent, it didn't take long. Within 48 hours, everything connected to Shen Tinglen began to collapse. Accounts frozen. Roots exposed. Alliances cut. One by one. Every layer he had built was stripped away. Not publicly, not loudly, precisely, systematically, until there was nothing left but him. The location, a single set of coordinates. Open water, remote, hidden. Lin Wang went alone, no hesitation, no backup, because this part was his. When he found him, Pei Chenyu was alive. Barely, restrained, injured, but conscious. Their eyes met. For a moment no one spoke. Not relief, not shock, not even anger. Just recognition. And something deeper. Something that had survived everything. Lin Wang stepped closer. Slowly. Stopped just out of reach. You're late. Pei Chenyu's voice was rough. Low. Lin Wang tilted his head slightly. You're alive. A pause. Good. That wasn't what Pei Chenyu expected. That's all you're going to say? Lin Wang studied him. Carefully. No. He turned. And that's when Pei Chenyu realized they weren't alone. Because behind them, every single person involved had been brought there bound out waiting. Judgment. Lin Wang walked past them slowly. You know, he said casually, he doesn't like it when I get hurt. No one spoke, no one moved. And he didn't click a tweet, one then smile. He stopped right in front of Shen Tinglen. The man who had thought himself untouchable was no longer smiling. You wanted leverage? Lin Wang crouched slightly. Met his eyes. Now you are the example. What followed was not chaos. It was precision. Orders given quietly, carried out immediately. No hesitation, no mercy. One by one they disappeared, until only silence remained. After, Lin Wang turned back, walked toward Pei Chenyu again. This time, he didn't stop. He reached out and touched his face. Lightly. You shouldn't have disappeared. Pei Chenyu held his gaze. I told you I'd come back. Lin Wang smiled. Too slow. A pause. Then, he leaned down close. You made me wait. His voice dropped, and I don't like waiting. For the first time, Pei Chenyu said nothing, because the person in front of him was no longer the one he had raised. He was something else now. Something sharper, colder, more dangerous. You've changed. Lin Wang tilted his head slightly. Didn't you want me to grow up? Silence. Then softly I did. Lin Wang smiled. Then don't complain. The final shift. Weeks later everything returned to normal. On the surface, the company stabilized. The market recovered. The world moved on. But something fundamental had changed. Power was no longer held by one person. It was shared, divided, balanced, or, depending on how you looked at it, doubled. The last scene, night. The city stretched below in endless lights. Lin Wang stood by the window behind him. Pei Chenyu approached. Close. Thinking about running again. Lin Wang smiled faintly. No. A pause. Then he turned, stepped closer, and said quietly, You locked me in for 6 years. Pei Chenyu didn't move. Lin Wang reached up, adjusted his collar. Now perfectly straight. Now he continued softly, It's my turn. Silence. Not tense, not fragile, certain. Pei Chenyu exhaled. Then don't let me out. Lin Wang's smile deepened. I won't. And somewhere between control and surrender, possession and choice, madness and devotion, they found something neither of them had ever planned for. Not freedom, but something far more dangerous. Belonging